Hello again, Struck Co-op. Diablo 4's team has shared some additional information via a video about the post-story experience and PvP aspects of the game, as well as via Twitter. Mikey Barra has also confirmed, at least for now, what is to be the official release times of the game. I've got some things I'd like to say about what was shared with us in that video, and I'll express my thoughts, including some concerns regarding what was revealed, as well as what is already known from previous Blizzard videos and interviews, and let's maybe say confessions of people who played the closed beta. So buckle up, I hope you enjoyed this video and the information I'm sharing with you, and let's go. Let's start with the post story. A variety of different experiences players can pursue is what Blizzard is promising. An entire world of Sanctuary for players to offer. There's going to never be an absence of something to do. After a player has finished the campaign, there's a lot more game to go and participate in Blizzard's words. Players gain access to a special, what Blizzard calls capstone dungeon, that they have to complete. Once players finish this capstone dungeon, they will gain access to the first additional world tier, which is World Tier 3, also known as Nightmare. And previously, in another interview, they have also said that certain world tiers would require you to complete a world boss. So most likely, world tier 4, 5, and 6 would require a world boss, or at least one or more of those will, if not all of them. Each world tier brings better experience rates and gold drop rates, as we have seen during the beta. And it's worth noting that certain powerful items, certain powerful wood, such as the unique items, also ancestral and sacred gear, only drop on world tier 3 and above. Whether we're fans of dungeons, PvP, or just roaming around the world, by this I think Blizzard means whispers, there's a way to continue our Diablo adventure long after hitting max level. And next, Blizzard talks about growing our power. So, growing in power. Blizzard states that as our character continues to grow in power, or characters continue to grow in power, we'll start with the skill tree and expand out into the Paragon system. A lot of the choices the players will make are grounded on skills themselves and the fantasies associated with those skills. So pretty much the skill tree is the starting point where you decide in which direction you want to go. Is it ice? Is it lightning? Is it close range? Is it long range? Is it cold? And so on. For example, with the Sork, that's that example. The Paragon boards will allow us to have a lot more depth, a lot more customization, many more options as we go. We can rotate the board so we can choose a different path, and this will allow us to approach the glyphs, board sockets, and legendary tiles we are after in different ways that will involve taking different board tiles on the way. The majority of tiles on each board are basic ones that simply give +5 to one of the core attributes or a little bit of armor and stuff like that. But there are also blue and yellow ones that give a little bit more of the stats and a little bit more depth, especially the yellow ones. There can be some a little bit more suitable for specific build styles. So the yellow ones are kind of okay. This is nudging you towards this specific type of build. So you definitely might wanna go take a detour to pick those yellow tiles after you've collected the important legendary and sockets. And charting your own path through the Paragon boards and picking the boards that are suitable for the chosen skills and playstyle will hopefully be enough for the more capricious players out there that were unhappy with how quote small the skill tree was in the beta. So the Paragon boards are a way for a player to keep expanding their character or characters and making it or them uniquely yours in Blizzard's words. Keep in mind, I'll make content dedicated specifically to this as a deep dive very soon. Just need to have the time for it. Blizzard also briefly talked about the Codex of Power, for which I already have a written guide plus list on my website struckquip.xyz. You might want to check that one out. In a nutshell, it's a system that allows players to obtain certain legendary aspects / powers by completing dungeons for the first time, as well as by reaching certain points in the game's main story / campaign. In the open beta, there were 114 aspects that can be obtained via the codex, which is around half of the total number of aspects in the beta, which is 224. That was confirmed via a beta data mine. And that same data mine also confirmed 115 codex aspects, so one more. Codex of Power aspects always have the minimum row possible unless obtained regularly by a drop, but can be imprinted as many times as you want, while dropped aspects can be reused sadly only once. This allows players to take rare or legendary item bases that they like and imprint them with the exact aspect that their build needs. Rare items imprinted that way automatically turn into a legendary item. Nightmare Dungeons. Blizzard says that every part of Sanctuary is fulfilling and satisfying. Nightmare Dungeons are going to give players the opportunity to experience the regular dungeons in each area they might have already done in the past, but with various twists added to them. Players will enter a Nightmare Dungeon with a sigil that they either found or crafted at the occultist. That dungeon will be a modified version of one of the 120 plus standard dungeons with added modifiers that may alter the playstyle and the intensity of the dungeon. Those dungeons will be more difficult and may even have additional objectives. This is achieved by introducing dungeon affixes / modifiers that grow in number as the rank grade of the sigil goes up. One example of such nightmare dungeon affix is called Hell Gate. Occasionally, portals will come up throughout the area that will just pour out different monsters that aren't native to that region / dungeon. Players will have the added difficulty of dealing with those extra enemies while handling everything else inside the dungeon. Imagine the butcher showing up for some fresh meat as you're dealing with a Hellgate plus some regular dungeon native enemies at the same time. The number of dungeons Blizzard has confirmed is 120 plus. I do remember them previously saying 150 plus in an interview or a video. I guess the other 30 have either been removed or won't be ready for launch. Any one of those 120 plus dungeons can become a nightmare dungeon if you find or craft the right nightmare sigil and then use it. Using a nightmare sigil will activate a nightmare version of that dungeon with the affixes that were on the sigil. This will supposedly add a little bit of a twist of flavor on your particular dungeon in Blizzard's words. What they haven't revealed yet is how do we access the nightmare dungeons? Do we have to manually go and walk or ride a horse all the way to the entrance of the dungeon, or are we gonna get a portal to save us some precious time that immediately ports us to the entrance of that dungeon? Regarding endgame exploration, there are a few things Blizzard said. There will be some targeted activities in Diablo 4 that suit what players are feeling in the mood for. The forces of Hell are starting to have more influence in parts of Sanctuary, in the vast interconnected overworld of the experience, and as the players are going into Hell-tight areas, they're going to find even more powerful enemies. By killing those enemies, players will be able to gain, in Blizzard's words, these special shards they can take to go and use to purchase these big rewards that are available at these caches that are found throughout Helltide areas. Basically, what they're trying to say here is that the players, we the players will encounter Helltide events, and upon clearing those, will be awarded keys that can unlock Helltide caches, which can be found in hell-tight areas. The sky darkens and the rivers run red, meteors fall from the sky and the monsters get harder. Is another quote from that video that Blizzard said. They also say that they really want to create new experiences for the players. One such experience is the Whispers of the Dead system. Whispers of the Dead is a system very similar to Diablo 3's bounties, but still slightly different. Players get Whispers of the Dead / bounties from the Tree of Whispers. Apparently, in Blizzard's words, the tree has a little bit of a grudge against our players and it would like for them to go serve its needs. Players will take 10 bounties, as we can see from the video, up to 10 bounties that they need to serve, which the game seems to refer to as Whispers Silenced. Here I hope it's not time gated. I really hope it's not a time gated activity, but rather simply limiting it to just 10 bounties per full Whispers run. So you take those 10, you finish them, and then it's time for the new 10 rather than having to wait before the new 10 become available. We'll gather different rewards, different items, and bring those back to the tree in hopes that the tree will reward us something really meaningful. Hello, bounty rewards RNG our Diablo 3. One thing that Blizzard revealed is the choice between 3 different types of collections that we'll get. It's also going to be random what's in those collections. Other than the type of items that we choose, it will be random what items of this type we get. My guess is that they may have made it to maybe have a guaranteed at least one legendary, but that's just me being hopeful. Whispers are contained activities that can be done either solo or in a group. Here I'm hoping that split pushing Whispers will be possible. Blizzard says that they really wanted to create variety for people to be able to spend time where they wanted to in the world. Now moving on to Fields of Hatred. The Fields of Hatred. In Diablo 4, the focus is on the world of Sanctuary, and there are parts of that world that are called the Fields of Hatred, where Lilith's presence in Sanctuary has begun to seep through and manifest these poisonous areas throughout the world. When players go to these regions, they get to engage in player versus player conflict. These offer opportunities for the player to collect shards, with a catch. Shards need to be purified before players can take them back to town and turn them in for random gear rewards. When someone attempts to purify their shards, other players in the same field of hatred will know of this and can choose to go and intervene for the chance to steal those shards for themselves. Blizzard mentions that people should be prepared that you might lose some stuff in the meantime. I was quoting here. What this refers to should be the loss of unpurified shards. Purified shards cannot be dropped as per what was officially confirmed many months ago. Once players have purified their shards, in Blizzard's words, they can take these, go back to nearby towns to sell them, and then use that to buy a whole bunch of interesting cosmetic items and rewards. While technically true, and they're not lying in our faces, they do make it sound that everything you can buy via PvP rewards is cosmetic, but that's not the case. Yes, you can exchange purified shards for cosmetic rewards, not sell the shards as Blizzard said, but straight up use them as currency as seen in the video. Note how they said cosmetic items and rewards, and that is not clear whether cosmetic refers to the rewards part of this statement or just to the items part of the statement. Well, it doesn't. As the video showed us, we can use the shards at the PvP Gambler vendor to directly buy random gear the same way gold can be used to gamble at the regular Gambler NPC. So what I've been trying to warn people about is how This introduces a terrible disbalance by not separating PvP and PvE gear and by letting people earn non-cosmetic rewards by partaking in PvP. PvP players may feel forced to partake in PvP if and only if, stressing here, if and only if the good loot chance from the PvP gambler ends up like a faster and a better way to earn decent gear than the regular gambler doing nightmare dungeons and silencing whispers. Further on, Blizzard confirms that the Fields of Hatred are, quoting here, a place for people who really love PvP and want to still get loot and still increase their character's power. If that's the way they want to play, they can. Ending the quote. While there is nothing wrong in getting stronger and rewarded for partaking in PvP, it is only right and fair if there are separate PvP and PvE versions of one's character, like for example Guild Wars 2 structured PvP versions of the PvE characters. Launch is just the beginning, is what Blizzard are saying. And it's to be expected with a game that has adopted a seasonal content, obviously. They say that one of the things they're really focused on is creating a living, breathing set of updates for players to engage with after the game has gone live, ending the quote here. It's going to be another quote, a way to keep coming back and experiencing more Diablo 4 in fresh ways, and ending this quote too. So yes, we're expecting fun, nice, more than just what Diablo 3 seasons were, mechanical changes that would make it worth returning every season instead of it being more of the same, repeat the same, relevel in the same way. So hopefully they plan something more than the boring ways that Diablo 3 seasons were. So hopefully they can be more creative than the people behind Diablo 3 seasonal mechanics. And this concludes my endgame growth and activities, PvP and release times info video. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. To get notified when I upload more content like this one or other builds and guides for Wooter and not so Wooter games, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on notifications. As well as keep in mind there's something called memberships on YouTube, which lets you be a paying member for my channel to get access to perks such as emotes and badges made by me, as well as the option to get one-on-one tutoring for the very basics of Adobe Photoshop, Premiere and After Effects. And memberships can be cancelled at any time if you no longer want to be a member. Thanks for watching all the way until the end, Struck Web. Keep it cool until next time and goodbye.